My heart was pounding in my chest, and every breath felt like fire as I sprinted through my own house, trying to get away from the man who'd become my worst nightmare. I could hear his footsteps getting closer, and it only fueled my adrenaline. I could feel my fear, making my legs tremble and my hands shake. As I turned the corner into the living room, I tripped over the rug, falling onto the floor. But I barely had time to register the pain before I saw him, the stalker, the man who had been tormenting me for weeks, standing over me with a wicked smile. I knew I had to act fast, or it would be the end for me. I couldn't let him win, not after everything I had been through. Just a few weeks ago, life had been so different. The sun was shining as I stood in line at my favorite Starbucks, casually replying to messages from my Onlyfans subscribers. I loved interacting with my fans, and I was grateful for the income it provided. My old job hadn't been enough to cover my rent, and turning to Onlyfans had been a lifesaver. As I stepped up to the counter, I smiled at the cashier, a cute guy who had been working there for a few months. He always made my caramel macchiato with a heart-shaped design in the cream, and I couldn't help but find it endearing. My Onlyfans persona, a submissive girl who let her fans dictate her actions, was a far cry from the person I really was. Independent and strong-willed. But it was a role that paid the bills, and I was careful to keep my online life separated from my real one. Upon leaving Starbucks, I made my way home to prepare for the day's Onlyfans livestream. I chose a seductive lingerie set, a deep red satin piece that contrasted beautifully against my fair skin, emphasizing the curve of my breasts and the narrowness of my waist. As I stared into the mirror, I added a final touch, a smoky eye look that made my green eyes look even more alluring. The live stream began, and I gracefully positioned myself in front of the camera, using my sultry gaze to captivate my viewers. I toyed with the delicate lace strap on my shoulder, letting it slide down my arm as my fans eagerly watched. Their messages poured in, each one complimenting my beauty and expressing their desire for me. I interacted with my fans, speaking to them in a seductive tone and fulfilling their requests. With every coy smile, flirtatious hair toss, and gentle touch of my collarbone, I noticed the increasing excitement in their messages. They couldn't get enough of me, and their admiration fueled my performance. Despite the adoration and success, maintaining my privacy was a constant struggle. My fans craved more than just my online persona. They wanted to know my personal life and meet me face to face. I knew I had to be careful, keeping a firm boundary between my Onlyfans life and my real one. It was a delicate balance, but it was essential to protect myself from potential dangers. One day, amongst the usual flood of compliments and flirtations, I started receiving unsettling messages from a particular fan. He was persistent in his desire to meet me in person, continually asking for my address under the guise of wanting to send me gifts. I tried to brush it off as nothing more than harmless infatuation, but deep down, it left me feeling uneasy. As the days went by, the messages from this fan became more frequent and aggressive. I couldn't help but feel a growing sense of alarm. His insistence on knowing my personal information crossed a line, and I found it increasingly difficult to ignore the gnawing fear in the pit of my stomach. One evening, after an especially tiring live stream, I received a chilling message from this fan that read, "You looked really nice today." My heart skipped a beat, and a cold shiver ran down my spine. It was clear that this was no longer just harmless admiration. This person was watching me, invading my privacy in a way that felt deeply threatening. Frightened, I immediately blocked the fan from my Onlyfans account, hoping that would be the end of it. Not long after I had blocked the fan from my Onlyfans account, my phone buzzed with an incoming text message. My heart sank as I read the message. It was from the same fan, now asking why I had blocked him. I couldn't fathom how he had managed to get my personal number, and the realization that he had it left me feeling exposed and vulnerable. The messages quickly escalated from there, becoming increasingly violent and threatening. He demanded that I let him into my life, as if he had some sort of right to be a part of it. Fear gripped me as I read his threats, each one more aggressive than the last. But the most chilling messages were the ones where he revealed intimate details about my personal life, details that I had never shared online. The fact that he knew so much about me, things that even my closest friends didn't know, sent shivers down my spine. He was insistent that we belonged together, as if his fixation on me was somehow proof of our destined connection. As I read the messages, I felt a growing sense of panic. This person, this stalker, had invaded my life in a way that felt inescapable. I knew I needed to do something to protect myself, but I didn't know where to start. All I knew was that I couldn't afford to underestimate the danger I was in. One day, I received a text message from the fan that stopped me in my tracks. It read, "I hope you liked your caramel macchiato this morning." My blood ran cold as I tried to process the implications of his message. He knew about my daily routine, about my Starbucks order that morning. As I pieced together the clues from his previous messages, a horrifying realization began to dawn on me. The fan who had been stalking me, the person who had somehow infiltrated my personal life, was the same clerk who had always greeted me with a smile and a heart-shaped cream design on my caramel macchiato. The shock and disbelief left me reeling. How could someone who seemed so kind and harmless have been hiding such a dark obsession? I felt betrayed and violated, knowing that the person I had trusted with my daily ritual was the very person who had been tormenting me all this time. As I grappled with the revelation, I was suddenly startled by a loud banging at my front door. Panic seized me as I realized that my stalker might be just outside, ready to force his way into my life in a way I could no longer ignore. Fear coursed through my veins, and I knew I had to act fast. In a desperate attempt to call for help, I grabbed my cell phone and my heart dropped as I realized my phone had died, leaving me feeling utterly helpless. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the hallway, confirming my worst fear: the stalker had entered my home. My breath hitched as I heard his footsteps growing louder, drawing nearer to where I stood. With each step, the terror inside me intensified. I ran as fast as my legs could carry me, desperately trying to escape his relentless pursuit. He chased me throughout the house, his menacing presence never far behind. As I rounded a corner, he lunged at me, tackling me to the ground and pinning me down. My heart pounded in my chest, and I struggled to breathe as the weight of his body pressed against me. In a horrifying moment, I realized he was attempting to undress me, his hands groping and clawing at my clothes. Desperation surged through me, giving me the strength to fight back. I scanned the room, searching for anything I could use to defend myself. My eyes fell upon a heavy vase on a nearby table, and I knew it was my only chance. Summoning every ounce of courage I had left, I managed to free one of my arms and reached for the vase. With a surge of adrenaline, I swung it with all my might, smashing it against the stalker's head. The impact was fierce, and he crumpled to the ground, unconscious, blood pouring from the wound on his head. As I lay there, panting and trembling, the overwhelming fear began to subside, replaced by a fragile sense of relief,